Good morning, everyone. So we are back after, I mean, because of my sickness, we are back after a couple of days. So now let us get back to our practice. Today, I thought we could again focus on our Indriya Bhavana, taking a comfortable seat on a cushion or chair. Let us come into our meditating positions. As you take a deep breath in, breathing out, relaxing mind and body. Relaxing each and every part of the body as we come into the present moment, here and now. Present, present. Letting go of the past and the future. Let us bring our focus, our awareness and attention to observe the breath for a few moments. Gently, slowly, relaxing mind and body, mind and body, mind and body. Gently, gently. Going deeper and deeper to a simple observation of the breath. No stories, just simple observation of the breath. As it flows in and out, in and out. Let us go deeper with every passing moment. Every passing moment. As we experience the lightness of mind and body, that comes about in simply being in the present, letting go of the past and the future for this moment as we reel ourselves in to the present breath, right here, right now. right here, right now. Observe the breath. Be with the breath. Let us establish a sense of one pointedness with the breath, a higher state of mind. let us guide our attention from the breath to the five senses, the faculties, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the body. For now, focusing on these five faculties. Across the body. Let us observe the grossness, the body, the different objects, that flow in through these Indriyas, creating a state of dominance over the mind. Let us advert to the eye, although closed, the shadow of light falling through it. When anything but darkness is seen, all that is seen is gross in nature. Although gross, the Vedana that arises may be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. All of these Vedanas note them as they are, conditioned, gross, arises dependent on other factors, and they are impermanent. In every aspect of its being. All aramana that arises through the eye. Note that it is all conditioned, gross in nature. They arise dependent upon other factors. They are impermanent. 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 This is the true nature behind all the aramanas that arise through the eye. Advert again and again. To see the reality of all that arises through the chakra, the eye. Let us gently guide our attention to the ears. Sounds that arise. Regardless of what the sound might be. May be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. They too are conditioned, gross, arises dependent on other factors. Impermanent in nature. They are fleeting, hence it is such a fragile aramana, being conditioned and dependent upon so many others. When those other factors and denominations change, the object will change. clinging to such a fleeting object devoid of true inherent nature. The mind being dominated by such fragile natures weakens the mind, weakens the meditator, weakens the path to enlightenment. Knowing the true nature of the Indriyas as they are, impermanent, gross, conditioned, dependent on so many other factors. Let us love the mind to transcend beyond. Gently guiding our attention from the ear to the nose, observe, observe the smell that we perceive through the Indriya of nose. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. All these are rammanas that can arise through the nose, dominating the mind as an indriya. Are gross in nature, conditioned, dependent on so many other factors. They are impermanent in nature. Impermanent in nature. whatever smells that might appear. And through that appeal, dominate the mind. They are due to change. They have no inherent self. They lack solidity. They are mere manifestations of condition. When the condition, the environment changes, the smell changes. Allowing such weak elements to dominate the mind, to dominate the chittas and chetasikas, with it the personality, the characteristics, with it the kileshas, the hindrances, the ogres, the yogas, the anusayas, the vidikamas, the paryuttanas, all fragile, a fool's task. Let us transcend this dependence. Let us transcend this hallucination of solidity and realize the actuality. Gently, gently, guiding our attention from the nose to the mouth, to the mouth. all that arises as objects. Taste, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. However, strong and persistent the impulsions created to process the object might be, the taste is a result of many conditioned factors. It is conditioned, grows in nature. Fragile, impermanent, allowing the mind to be controlled and dominated by such lowly, sensuous pleasure is a fool's choice. Is a fool's choice. Let us transcend the dependence on such lowly pleasures of the body, of the calm bhumi, as we come to realize its impermanence and the dangers that it poses to the delusionary actions of the mind and body through the kilesas, the nivaranas, the anusayas. Observe, observe, observe. 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 Let us now guide our attention from the mouth to the whole entire body, where the tactile data is felt. Touch, pleasant or unpleasant. Or neutral. Gross, conditioned, manifestation of many other factors, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Gross, conditioned, manifestations of many other factors. Impermanent. Gross, conditioned, manifestation of many other factors. Impermanent. Let us gently, gently gently. Let us now bring it in. Let us now bring it in, amalgamating our reflections across the Indriyas, the 5 Indriya. Any form that is seen, any sound that is heard, any smell that is smelt, any taste that is tasted, any touch that arises, grows, condition, manifestations of many other factors, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. As we are in the present, any form, sound, taste, smell, or tangible feeling that arises, realizing that it is devoid of any reason to cling to. That it has no true identity, but simply a manifestation of conditions and many other factors. It is fleeting and fragile, impermanent in the beginning, middle, and the end. Let us transcend beyond the craving to abide by, to live controlled, let us transcend the hold of the 5 senses. Let us transcend the control of the Indriyas, the 5 senses. And as we do, the mind steadfast, present, strong, unhindered, focused, mind ready, to transcend the hold of the Kama Vacharbhumi, the sensuous plane, and focused, upon nirvana, fullest form of enlightenment, focused on abandoning tanha, avidya, tanha, avidya. Whatever arambanas arise, the mind steadfast focused upon the true and only fruit worth focusing on, the fruit of nirvana, the abandoning of the kileshas, the transcending of the sensuous blame, the fragile condition, the fragile condition. Let us take a deep breath in. Letting go, observing the Indriyas even at this moment without any attachment or reason to cling, being within the present. Deep breath in. And gently, when you are ready, opening your eyes and awakening to the present. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Bhante,
Yes, Damsre.
thank you very much for giving us this full noble method of Indriya Bhavana, because it's very clearly as indicated in Indriya Bhavana Sutra, where we have to contemplate on the three important factors, which is Sankata, Olarika, and Pachupanna. And you mentioned that in English. And the other thing is, I would like to mention, actually, it's for a worldling, you have to work hard to achieve the ultimate aims, as forsakers and arahat. It will take only fraction of second to convert these sukha feeling and dukkha feelings to upekha feelings. Thank you very much again for the procedure. And we'd like to, can you please put that one onto the website so that we can really practice that? Thank you.
I will, Namsri, I will. May now let me connect it, right? Let me connect it further. Now, if you, I mean, you do realize we have only gone through, there are 6 Indriyas, and we've only gone through the first 5 with regards to the physical basis, right? Now, make a අපි නොකරපු දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. අපි මේක කරන්න පටන් ගත්තේ වේදනානුපස්සනාවෙන්.
Okay.
Right. අපි මේක කරන්න පටන් ගත්තේ වේදනානුපස්සනාවෙන්. In the Indriya Bhavana, the focus here becomes now pleasure, that which is not pleasure, dukkha, and then adukkama sukha, or the neutral feeling, right? Damsiri and everyone else, when we come, or when we gradually come to realize, as we observe whatever form, smells, whatever sense that arises, we cultivate the ability to now be able to, of course, we'll be feeling the senses, but we come into a position where we see for ourselves how I would feel and not be attached or conditioned or dominated by that. That position, make nikan api, we learn to use a, let's say, a cooker without burning ourselves, right? Without we learn to use a cooker, or we learn to do something without burning ourselves, or without essentially causing any harm to ourselves, right? This position is possible, right? This position is possible, but that element, or that position where you are able to do it, you understand through this practice specifically, right? And it is almost then when we observe a form, we go deeper, or we come to realize, with practice, we come to realize when the form appears, there is a very subtle clinging on to a subtle hold that develops to that form that arose, even before we truly know what the form is all about. That is the plateau, or the platform where self exists. ඒක තමයි මේ මමත්වයේ තියෙන ගතිය, මමත්වය. It is like vicarious living, where we are not experiencing us, or we don't have it ourselves, but we try to live through it through other people, right? Similarly, in this state, we don't know what this form is. It's not quite clear. But because of the Atma that exists, the Mamatva, right? Mama is me, myself, and I. Atva is that self, right? Because of that, there is a whole that it expresses towards everything. And we realize, or we come to maneuver ourselves into a position of mastery, where now I will eat, I will smell, I will see, I will feel, I will go through all of those as a human, but not with that attachment and that hold that object would have over the self, right? That object will have over the self. And when we have amalgamated, we have to bring it together. When we do bring it together, what happens is, with everything that arises, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind, right? Mouth and the mind. What happens is whatever that arises, we are able to now not cling or to not give the power of control over to that element that has just arisen, right? To that element that has just arisen. Or else, what we would usually do is pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feeling will determine how we process the object, or the way by which the object will always have a hold, but it will determine in which way do I have the hold. Now, this power then, because we are within ourselves, we lack of true self, this is the way that self operates, everyone. Self of, because we have that sort of hole that can never be filled in within us, that is self, right? Because self is an illusion, no mandanavak.
Mm,
It is an illusion. Now, although it is an illusion, we want to fill it up.
mm,
We fill it up through the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind, through creations of such sort. And we live a life constantly trying to fill something. First of all, there's nothing to fill. So that is on its own avidya.
mm,
Avidya, right? So we come to realize, how do I live? Now we have to live up until we die. We have to live with the Sankata Dhammas. We have to live with those that is conditioned, right? How do I live without being controlled by these elements, right? Without being controlled by the element. That is first. Then we go on to transcending them. It is in that transcending process that we become completely now focused upon nirvana, right? Focused upon nirvana. Now, now with regards to the previous sutra class that we did, which was on the Pachavekana,
mm.
right? The Pachavekana. Now, knowing that the retreat that we had was going to be about Indriya Bhavana, that Pachavekana is a very important part assisting towards Indriya Bhavana, everyone, right? That Pachavekana, you realize the reason or the reasons that we say, api khanne to jivat wenna bari hinda. අපි ඇඳුම් අඳින්නේ අපිට ඇඳුම් ඇඳින්න නැතුව ජීවත් වෙන්න බැරි හින්දා. අපිට ගෙවල් තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ ගෙවල් නැතුව අපිට ජීවත් වෙන්න බැරි හින්දා. So we have all these reasons, isn't it? We need these things. But the Buddha puts it into perspective to say, how do we how do we maintain, how do we have these things whilst being focused upon nirvana? Now put that Paccavekkhana Sutra and the Indriya Bhavana together, and you have your foundational practice, everyone.
Yeah.
Got it? Right there, you have your foundational practice. Yeah.
Bhante, in addition to that, I read Piyatan's write-up on this. And again, Bhikkhu Bodhis, there's a big article on this. And what they say is actually we have to acquire the ability to radically transform the subjective significance of perceptual object. That means we have to gradually change the perception of that object from agreeable to upekka or disagreeable to upekka. That's the Piyatan has mentioned actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
That upekka damsiri,
Yeah.
now in Vedana, right? In Vedana, Let me see whether I can have the whiteboard on. You can see my iPad.
Yeah.
Yes, Svante.
Okay, let me just. Let's look at it in this way. I'm sorry, these are my notes. Yeah. All right. So the five senses.
We lost it.
Oh yeah. Okay. But that's not going to work. My pencil is it's battery low. So,
Oh, I see.
so the pencil is not going to work. Okay. Okay, that's not going to work. So let me try to explain this. First arises, right? First arises. Now in Indriya Bhavana, we are talking with regard to Indriya Bhavana. So the faculties, right? Faculties are present. Indriya is present right on top. What is the attribute of the Indriyas? The Indriyas exert dominance over the mind, right?
Mhm.
Depending on this Indriya that arises at that time, at that respective time, the mind heeds to that Indriya, right? Chitta, Chetasika Dhammas have a tendency to sort of worship or sort of be dominated and controlled by these Indriyas. What are the Indriyas? The eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind, right? And the mind. The eye is form, the ear is sound, then smell, then taste, then tangibility, and then of course the mind is dharma. Dharmayan kivothari, dharmayan, right? Which is not the Buddha's dhamma, right? Phenomena, mental phenomenon, right? Which is very diverse and complex in its own. It can be so many things, right? This Dhamsiri, afterwards it falls the මේකේ වේදනාවක් හටගන්නවනේ. ඒ වේදනාව is pleasant, unpleasant or neutral, right? So when we say upeksha, what are we relating through? Then මනසේ තියෙන වේදනාව, then pleasant, if it is a pleasant feeling, right? If it is a pleasant feeling, something that we really like, let us say a grandchild, for example, right? A very pleasant sort of experience. Being a pleasant experience, it is not a process of saying neutral, 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 right? That is not the perceiver, because then that becomes a vanchaka dhamma, right? That becomes a vanchaka dhamma. අපි පැහැදිලිව කැමති ආරම්මණයක් දැන් අපි නම් කරනවා උපේක්ෂාවෙන්. ඒක වැරදි. ඒක මුවාව. That is masquerading yourself, right? What do we do here? Then arises in the practice, right? It is either pleasant, non-pleasant, pleasant, non-pleasant, or neutral. That is a Vedana. And then comes the sanya, perception. The sanya in the meditation is what? The sanya in the meditation is gross, olarikai, right? Conditioned, manifested by so many other factors, and it is impermanent. Within these indriyas, within what is perceived, metana attatama deyak naha. There is no true solidity within these. There's nothing to truly cling on to these. We understand it even better when we understand or know of the chemical processes of the mind, isn't it? Of the brain. the neurological processes that activates the dopamine and the serotonin, for example, which arises, which is secreted when we embrace and hug a person who is a loved one, right? Now, where does that upekha come? What is this upekha? It must be realized through this, the mind comes into a state of equanimity towards that cycle as a result of the contemplation. Perception, the sanya, olarika and all of that, impermanent, the contemplation that we do, converts the way that we look or engage with it. That is the upekha that we are talking about, not the vedana upekha. Then what happens? Because now our yoniso manasikara, our sati increases in our standard through the spirit and the the seasoned natures of vipassana. What then happens is now the yoniso, the manodwara vajana, right, the mind of adverting processes the data as upekha. Do you understand? Is that clear, everyone?
Yeah.
If I am to again say faculties, what are the faculties? Eye, nose, tongue, body, and the mind, right? We have the sense object that arises from these faculties, the form, the sound, the smell, the taste, the tangibility, and the dharmas of the mind, right? From that arises feeling. Over the feeling, right, or this object that we have now grasped, we do the contemplation, which is a sanya in Indriya Bhavana. When repeated, what happens is the manodwara vajana, or the way the manodwara vajana processes the object, changes to now acquiring the mechanism through insight to now see these things as upekha. Now, what is upekha in this case? Now, this is also important because I want to still love my child. Right? Now, what is upekha? Right? What is upekha? This is the important part and the scary part for most, right? Because we don't want to live like humanoids, right? The upekha here is this, everyone. What is the sanya? Look at the sanya. It is gross. It is conditioned. It is manifested by many other factors. It is impermanent. What this teaches us is this. Metana lassana තියෙනවා. ඒත් මේ ලස්සන, ඒත් මේ පොඩි ගති ටික, මේ හුරතල් ගති ටික සදාකාලික නැහැ. ඒ සදාකාලිකයි කියන මේ සංඥාව එරෙහිව අපේ විදර්ශනාව වැඩෙනවා. Right? Yeah. This is not the fact, don't be scared, it is not the fact that we will lose our ability to taste or to feel. No. We come into complete grasp of reality. It is through that grasp of reality, as a result of that grasp of reality, that the Buddha liberated all of those beings. ඊට වඩා ආදරයක් මේ ලෝකේ තියෙනවද? Isn't it? ඊට වඩා ආදරයක් මේ ලෝකේ තියෙනවද? එතකොට අර ලෞකික, පෝතුජනික, හීන, කැත, අවිද්‍යාවෙන් පිරුණු අර කාමුක ආදරයෙන් මිදිලා we come into an ability of having a true sense of love, compassion towards those beings that we live with. When we consume shelter, basage of medicine, food or clothing, we come to realize, because none of these things now control us. right? I am not going to sell my morals for a pay rise, if I am able to use that example, right? We are focused on what? My true happiness comes from cultivation of the path. මේ ලෞකික හීන සැපයන් වලින් දැන් මගේ ජීවිතේ නිගමනය වෙන්නේ නැහැ. My life is not decided, or the happiness in my life is not decided by these fragile elements that I at first thought had permanence, had true value. That is what comes out through the Indriya Bhavana practice. When we have the solid ground of now we are seated, then ඉස්සරහට යන්න යන්න as we progress everyone, we don't have to go ear, nose, tongue, body. එහෙම යන්නත් අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. We are just present. And when the mind, Panchadwara Vajana, takes the mind to the different areas of the body, all of these things you will realize, we know, but no clinging, no holding on. So it is very short-lived. It's like a ricochet, right? It's just ricocheting away. It's not getting into us. And then we come into the most important part, which is the mind, the dharmas. When we come into the dharmas, that is where the kilesas, now, unpleasant object, linking to the mind, hate arises. Then ඒ ටික අපි निराකරණය කරන්නේ අර මනසෙන්. ධර්මායතන. Yeah? ධර්මායතන. ඒ අවස්ථාවේදී, at that position where we are looking at the mind, now the sound, smell, all of these things sort of bring out different elements of the mind. Now we take that apart, connecting. What are we taking apart? Present form connecting to self. Mamatve then kadana. Mogada we might think that mama kyanne kawuda? Mama kyanne me අත්දැකීම් ඔක්කොම එකතුවක්. A collection, a amalgamation of all of those experiences that I remember. With sound, with the different types of sound, smell, all the five indriyas, all that I remember, what I am used to, my level of comfort, my level of pain, my level of all depression, anxiety, everything comes, right? Everything is present there. Not that it comes, not that you get depressed, it comes. Then we break the mamatya, the self connecting the mind to those experiences, having realized it is of the past, it has ceased, right? The future has not arisen, and this self, it is devoid of self. So we do not feel that there's a need to fulfill, because there is nothing, there is no pot to fill. We now come into a state of being and present with utmost comfort, but comfort not in the hina vedana sense, comfort in the sense of not wanting, not craving, not clinging, that sense of want. I hope that has shed light onto the word that was used, upekha. Okay, everyone. Good. So do we have time for one more question? Because I have a dana to go to today. So
Bhante, can I say something, please?
yes.
Right. Bhante, so this is what the Bhante was talking to, a sanasima. It's a sanasima that gives rise to that satata, not that we are clinging to the satata, but that contentment. Thank you, Bhante. That was beautiful. And so was the retreat. It gave a lot of opportunity for practice for all of us. For me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Bhante.
Yes.
Bhante.
Yes, Sujata. Yes.
It was a lovely bilingual explanation, Bhante. So attentively. It was so perfect, I would say. From my knowledge, I don't know, I'm not an expert, But beautiful, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Sujata. Thank you. After such a long break, Sujata, after such a long lapse, we must come out with a bang, no?
I know. But Bhante, one more thing I must tell you. I
Yeah.
won't be there for any more classes other than, I think maybe the last class, maybe next year, next week.
Okay.
We're on a long holiday.
Oh, wonderful, Sujata. Holiday ke Indriya Bhavana karana, Sujata. All right. All right. Hari. Then everyone, I will see you all. Today the Vishaka Bana is happening. You might know in the afternoon. So if you want to join for that, and of course Abhidhamma happening tomorrow. Take
Bhante, what is Vishakadhamma?
We have the
Vishaka.
Vishaka annual Bana is happening, and I'm going to talk for it.
Right, you mentioned.
I'll post it again on the group. Yeah.
Okay, Bhante.
Right. This is the OGA of Visakha, is it?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay, Bhante. And can you tell me, because what the which bhavanas which you do we do in addition, because I'm doing Indriya Bhavana mostly because I find it very useful, but how do we incorporate that and Buddhanusati in a formal way, or do we do it when we can? Can you just make it a bit clear for me, please?
Shall we talk that on Wednesday? Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's discuss that on Wednesday, please. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Lovely.
Because the way I have
Okay,
been
Bhante.
doing the Buddhanusati is when I have the opportunity, I do it. And I find that very useful because I had so many other programs going on. So I just want to clarify that. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Bhante. It was a beautiful session. Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, tomorrow morning we have the class, Monday morning.
We have the
Thank
meeting.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante. Tervan Saranai.